What happens to a child from conception to 5 years old has a huge impact on the rest of their lives and ours. That's our topic next on Lakeshore Focus. Stay with us. Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting the key issues, important events, and interesting people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. When I first learned about the research and statistics associated with the impact of early childhood education, I was blown away. How could what happens with a child before the age of 5 shape the rest of their life? I wanted to know more, and so will you after you hear from our guests who are experts in working with our preschoolers and their parents. Let's welcome Kimberly Smith, who is the Executive Director for the Early Learning Partnership of Northwest Indiana, and Wendy Hensley, the Program Director for Mental Health America of Lake County. You guys have some great titles here, don't you?
Thank you, yeah.
Everybody's probably going, what is all that about? But you guys do some interesting stuff, but for the most part, you're working with kids, right? And their parents.
And their parents.
So this early childhood education thing, the first question I want to ask, because I was kind of blown away when I think I discovered this through Kim years ago. Why don't people understand or know this basic information about how important early childhood education is, the impact? Why doesn't the average citizen know this?
Why don't more people know it?
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. I know when I moved into this area from working in a hospital setting, there was so much that I didn't know. And so Wendy and I both have made it our mission to make sure that everyone is aware 90% of brain growth happens in the first 5 years. But I think families are busy. We have busy lives, and so to be able to access the information and all of the awesome tools that are available, sometimes it's difficult for parents when they're so busy.
Why do you think that?
Well, I think
that lack of information exists.
I think one of the misconceptions is that especially very young children, babies, infants, are so young that they don't understand, that they're not taking in what's happening around them. And we know that that is very much not true, and that their brain is really absorbing all of those early experiences. They are so susceptible to either really positive, nurturing experiences, or on the flip side, vulnerable to those negative experiences very early in life. A lot of people feel that, oh, the baby can't understand, they can't process it, it's no big deal what they see. And the research tells us, and what we really know, is that they are absorbing in mind and body every experience that they have.
Is this newer research? I mean, is this like just come up in the past 20 years, or has it always been around and it's just now getting out to people?
Well, a lot of the brain research is really from the 90s. I think that we had explosive growth in understanding how a child's brain develops. You can expand on that a little bit.
Yes, and we've, over the last 20 years that we've been involved in this, we've seen so much more information come out, so much more research come out. But it is fairly new information. Back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have as much focus on brain development. We didn't understand, well, we also didn't have as much media and probably as much stress going on in folks' lives.
Well, I remember back then, back in the 70s and 80s, there was so much focus on health care and nutrition for children and just paying attention to children. And even the beginnings, I think, of you ought to read to kids was all back then. But I don't think they understood this huge impact it was having. So 90% of brain growth up before 5. Well, what else is happening what else are they absorbing or learning when they're at this age?
So children are born with all of the synapses or brain neurons that they have that they'll need throughout their lives, but it's the experiences that they have that help strengthen those connections. So if children at very early stages are having positive and nurturing experiences, those are the little wires that are getting lit in their brain, and it's helping to shape the way they face the world, the way they view people around them, the way they trust people. On the converse side, if those experiences are negative or detrimental to a child, those are the synapses that are getting wired, and it definitely affects the way a child perceives the people in his life and the world around him or her.
So knowing that we have a lot of kids who are not in nurturing environments and are seeing and experiencing either a lack of this happening or these positive relationships, I guess the question becomes, can you fix that after 5? I mean,
That's a discussion that we have with a lot of our families, that they're concerned if we're coming in with their younger child, maybe they have an older child. The way we like to explain it is a window of opportunity. And in the earlier years with vision, the window of opportunity starts to close much earlier, 2 years old. With language, another example, that window of opportunity starts to close at 8. So if you think about a window, when it's open, it's easier to talk to someone. When it's closed, you have to yell louder. You might still be able to get your message through.
I can see your face through the window, but I just have to read your lips, right?
Right, you have to read my lips, you have to listen harder. So that's kind of the analogy we give with families, that if you can make those differences in the first 5 years, it makes a lot easier. But if you have children that are older, it doesn't mean that it's totally shut, that there are still opportunities to have positive attachment, something we definitely talk about a lot with families, and opportunities for language development. But we do know that some of those windows shut very early as far as language development, learning multiple languages. We know a lot about learning multiple languages now, that prime age, the window starts to close by 8 years, and then we start to use a different part of our brain. When I took French for 8 years in high school and college, I was using a different processing, a different part of my brain than a child who was born hearing 2 languages from birth.
Well, let me go back to your answer, and either one of you can respond to this, because if I was a parent and you kind of told me that, and I've got my 9-year-old and I've got my 3-year-old, and all of a sudden I'm like, I have this revelation that I need to be doing something, your answer would still say to me, I think I've really messed my kid up, my 9-year-old, and the window's already closed. So my kid's probably going to be in jail or have horrible things happen to him because I wasn't aware of this.
I think at the early stage, and definitely as they go on, the best thing that parents can do is focus on that relationship and the attachment. It is the most important thing you can do for your child at any age, and it's what springs them on to everything else. We don't want to get too caught up in making sure, although school readiness is important with the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, it is that foundation, that relationship that helps get children ready to go on to school, to go on to different things in life.
So the answer is some of this can be repaired. It's just going to be a different part of the brain that's doing it.
A different part of the brain. It's going to take a little more work and outside resources potentially, where if you can have these good experiences in the first 5 years of life, it's setting that child up for greater success. We always explain to parents, a child has a potential, a maximum potential, and it's the environment that they provide, that learning environment, that helps them reach that maximum potential. So like Wendy said earlier, good experiences or bad experiences, they create a connection in the brain. And so we try to help parents picture that every time you're reading to a child and they want to read that same book over and over and over, that's a good thing. That means that their brain is connecting those messages, a pathway is being formed, and it's becoming more solidified, more permanent. Every time you hold a child when you feed them, sing to a child that same song that they want to hear over and over, those are positive, good connections being made in the brain.
So as a grandparent, when my grandson says, read this book again, I shouldn't say, oh, not this again.
Yes.
I should say, okay, sure, we'll read this again.
Yeah,
and I should do it with enthusiasm, right?
It's a good sign. They're craving it. That child that wants to climb up the stairs 20 times, their brain is making a connection, a pathway is being formed. So even though it might drive us crazy to sing the same song over and over, yes, that's what's happening.
I think the other answer to this question too is because all of us know people who came from really difficult backgrounds and have really done well for themselves and are mature, solid people. So it can happen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We just, I think, hear the stories more often of the person who had this horrible background and didn't get that nurturing or that learning, and now their life is a shambles. So you guys work with a lot of these parents who aren't aware of this, aren't taught this. So what's some of the big lessons you're trying to convey to a parent?
So I think there's 2 things. One of the things that Kim talked about, the little guy running up and down the stairs over and over again and how frustrating it can be, our job is to help normalize child development. And part of child development can be frustrating, right? Because kids want to explore with pushing boundaries and cause and effect. So our role is to help parents understand this might not be a source for discipline. Here's what's going on. Here's what they're learning and how you can address those behaviors that many people find challenging. And then I think the other biggest thing is stress. We haven't mentioned it yet, but toxic stress has huge impacts on the developing brain. So we really have to help parents deal with their levels of toxic stress. You talked about all those wonderful things about being a parent and then all those really difficult things about being a parent.
So what do you tell them when they say, I'm so frustrated, my day was horrible, I come home, these kids are screaming, and I don't even want to deal with them. What do you say to them?
Well, we have lots of activities that can help them find circles of support, who are the people that are healthy in their life that they can rely on. We do things like mindfulness training to help parents be in the moment and be present and not get that brain running. So lots of different ways to help.
I'm thinking about the visualizing activity too, that just helping parents, okay, describe what it would look like if it went well. What would it be perfect? Let's talk about so that we understand where they're coming from, what actually happened during the day that they describe as bad, and then how do they picture it being better, what would be ideal, and then what are some strategies that are going to work for us?
What do you do to get to
that how do we
point?
get to that? Let's break it down and think about some strategies, because it makes a difference if that parent can understand, like Wendy said, about a child's development. If they understand why the 6-month-old is throwing the food on the floor every time they turn around, that it's cause and effect, then they will respond differently. If they understand that that child's just trying to figure out what happens when I do this. Ooh, I throw the potatoes on the floor, mom just comes and she picks them up. And she looks at me and we have an interaction. If they understand that that's the reason and it's not my child is being naughty or bad, they're trying to drive me crazy, then you respond differently.
I heard you tell this story just recently. Every time I listen to you, I learn something different from Kim, because she comes and speaks often to groups I have. And you told the one about throwing the food in the floor. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that explains it. That's why they do that. They look right at you
Right.
and throw it in the floor. And you say, don't do that. And they look right at you again and throw it in the floor
And
again.
they're
It
not doing
works.
Yeah, it worked. I
they're
got
not
you to
doing
look
it
at me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're paying attention to me. And yeah, I mean, that is so helpful to know. Why, again, don't people know these things? I mean, I'm just learning them at this point in my life. I mean, why don't people know this stuff?
We used to say there's no manual for that. Now we say there's no app for that, right?
Right.
Because there's nothing that teaches
Neither
you these
one,
things. There's
an
nothing.
manual or a map.
There's lots of online resources, of
Yes,
course,
there
but
are.
this is not common sense information. A lot of the things, in fact, that our parents and grandparents might tell us about child rearing, maybe with new scientific information, we might want to change that a little bit. So it's really about getting education out there. And parents want to do right by their kids. Every parent, it's universal, wants to give their child the best possible start. So how do we get this information in the hands of parents where they can actually use it?
You know, I've seen, we've talked about this before, that parents also pass that down to their kids.
Absolutely.
But I don't think they knew why. You know, they were saying that you need to do this. They would say, be patient, but if they do this, just set it back on the table, set it back on the table. It's like, why do you do that? But, well, mom told me that that's what you do when you have a kid, right? So, but we have other parents, particularly the ones you guys work with, who their parent didn't know to do those things. So
Potentially,
that's
yeah.
a lot of who you're working with, right? How big is this problem? I mean, how many people, I mean, we live in a region of, 850,000 people. Lake County's a 500,000. You guys are primarily in Lake County. So let's just do Lake County. How many parents or kids does this really affect? I mean, it affects everybody, but who's
Yeah.
really struggling?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me, because for me, all parents
Every
need
parent's
information.
struggling.
I needed information. I needed support. I think every parent has challenges that we might not know about, no matter how big or small their house is, what type of degree they have or don't have. I think all parents struggle with different challenges. And so we try and meet families where they're at and understand that every family needs help.
But
and
some
every
parents
parent-
have less resources.
Right,
So,
and more challenges. They're trying to
Okay.
figure out how to keep the lights on and put food on the table, and at the same time take time out to focus on how's my child developing. And
So how big is that group?
So
What's
look
your
at
guess?
the poverty level
Okay.
in our county. I've seen upwards of 25%, even higher, of children living in poverty, and those are children that of parents who might experience more of that toxic stress than we've talked about because of the concerns of putting food on the table, frequent moves from place to place, domestic violence, substance abuse, mental health issues, all of those things that make parenting really a challenge. So we have a significant population in our county of families that need, again, in a perfect world, this support would be available for everybody, a universal access, but we have some families that are in greater need.
I'm big into numbers and trying to educate our viewers on these kind of things. So I always say in our region, there's kind of like, you could just say 10,000 people at every age range, you know. It's obviously different than that. But if you think of 25% of the kids are living in poverty, that's like 2,500 kids out of each cohort. And for a 5-year period, that's like that's 12,000, 15,000 kids who are really struggling, or the parents are really struggling with this. That's huge. So to give a perspective, how many people are you guys working with? If we've got this many out there, if I got 15,000 kids,
Right.
just rough, how many kids does your team of people work with?
our team of people usually impacts around 400 children and their families a year through our various programs. We have a home visiting program, Parents as Teachers, that we work with families, and usually we're at about 150 to 200 families each year for that. And then we have other programs. We have a school readiness program that usually impacts around 250 to 270 children
Is that
each
part of
year.
the 400? Or is
Yeah,
that additional?
yeah. So it's
Okay.
it's anywhere from 400 to 500 a year, depending on our capacity at
So
the
let's
time.
go with the 500. So we've got 500 covered out of the 15,000 potentially. So how many is your organization dealing
We
with?
have a variety of programming aimed at parents and their very young children, and I would say we're in the range of about 1,700 families that we're reaching. Healthy Families is a large statewide program that we provide in Lake County, and it's offered in every county in the state of Indiana, that offers in-home support for families who may be dealing with a lot of the challenges that we've talked about. We also do Parents as Teachers, as well as a partnership that Kim and I worked on several years ago for empowering teens as parents, working with those teen parents who have their own special, unique situation that we try to support.
So there's some services out there, but we can easily say that there's still a huge number of people in this category that are just not getting resources to help. This state seems to be a little behind or way behind seeing the importance of this, and hopefully people watch this show all year long, so we can't really probably refer to what's happening in the legislature because who knows what. But just generally, why don't we get it?
Well, I don't want to say, I think that we're doing
starting
some
to
good
get it.
work in our state. I should, like I said, Healthy Families has robust support from the state of Indiana and serves families all over the state as well as in our county. There is the Early Learning Advisory Committee that the governor's office
But
formed.
why hasn't our state put more money into the resource? I mean, what's your gut guess here? I know you don't want to irritate them if they watch this, right?
Yes, we're excited that most recently there has been a lot of conversation about early
There's
childhood,
movement.
but it's why it's taken so long. I just don't know, because the research is there.
Absolutely.
For instance, the pilot that we have going, that's probably the most publicized, the On My Way Pre-K program for preschool that folks are hearing about. There's a lot of discussion right now. A bill passed in the House, I think last week, to continue the On My Way Pre-K program, which is a program for families to be able to apply for scholarships for preschool. And it's a newer program. It's only been 2 years. And again, it's like you're saying, it's hitting a very, very small amount of children in our state.
So one of the things that we
compared to
can
what
say
we
to our
could do.
viewers is when you talk to elected officials in the state and people in decision making, you need to say, we need to be putting more into early childhood education. As simple as that,
Absolutely.
and the data and the research is there.
Well, and focusing that early child, preschool is wonderful, and we are big supporters of preschool, but that's 4 years in, 3 years in.
Right.
So how do we get
80%
that?
happens by age 3.
Right,
We didn't say
before
that.
they've gone to
80% of
preschool,
brain growth by age 3.
We're almost to the end here, but there's a video out there, I know I've watched it a couple of times, called The First 5 Years, I believe,
Yes.
and so if people just even do that on YouTube, First 5 Years, they can see it. The message in that video is what is the impact on kids if they don't get that after 5. What is that impact?
Well, when you watch the video, you can see that the difference in having some type of intervention and some type of support. The examples that you'll see, children who are in daycare that is not quality and are not getting quality experiences. They're not ready for school. Children that are not having proper nutrition, proper sleep, and their families, their parents don't have the support networks to make that happen. They are not
The
ready
results
for
of that
school.
is like higher pregnancy.
It's all the
Higher-
social
Okay.
problems that you would
Absolutely.
expect. It's not doing as well in school. It's having problems with interpersonal relationships for your life. It's
Health
health
issues,
problems.
right.
The Adverse Childhood Experiences study shows really significant links to traumatic childhood experiences to very significant health problems later in life.
Higher probability of being in jail, higher probability,
All that,
all
but
those
also
things.
heart disease and
Yeah.
liver disease,
High
and
blood
depression.
pressure.
So
and
there's
addictions.
a really,
Yeah.
that video says there's a really good reason why we should invest in this
Right.
now, because we'll pay for it later if we
It's the prevention
don't.
argument. People tend to want to put money where the fires are, and but if we put the money in at the back end, at the early, we really save. It's that return on investment. We save that money in the long run.
If we can change a child's story in the first 5 years so that they are getting quality preschool, so that their parents are having the opportunity to nurture and understand what is good nutrition and what is good sleep for a child, and taking time. That's something that is our most precious commodity, is time spent with family, time spent together. We talk about reading together, playing games together, turning off the technology and the screen time, and spending face-to-face time together.
So that's your ending advice here, is spend that time. What's your ending advice?
It's all about the relationships. The best thing you can do, even in some really difficult situations, if you can carve out that time to get that face-to-face time with your child, build that trusting relationship, it serves as a buffer for the challenges that you and your child may face as you go on.
You guys do some wonderful work. You really enjoy what you do, don't you?
Yeah.
You feel like it make a difference?
We're very blessed
We are.
to do what we do. And we both have children, and we have benefited personally. I think I
Oh my
can speak for
gosh.
Wendy, because we've had conversations about how our boys are growing up because we had this knowledge right at our fingertips, and then be able to do that every day and see families flourish because they have just a little bit of support, a little bit of information. They make a different decision than they might have because they have that knowledge.
So you have perfect children, is that what you're saying?
Perfect children. I have
Absolutely.
twin boys,
Oh
and
my gosh.
and I had them a little later in life, and I'd been doing this
Both of
work
us
for many years, and becoming a parent just absolutely solidified for me why home visiting and parent education is crucial for all parents, because I definitely experienced the what am I doing?
Well, I really appreciate you both being on the show, but more importantly, I appreciate what you're doing in the community and other people like you. So thanks for being here and sharing all this information. I think it's real important.
Thank you.
You bet. We all love children. Well, most of us do. How about those wonderful people who work with kids, particularly the tiny tots and babies? It must be so rewarding to spend time with those cute little cherubs. They make you smile, are so much fun to play with, and they say the darndest things. They will hold your hand, give you hugs and kisses, and think everything you do is funny. Their laughter fills the room and their footsteps occupy the hallway. They giggle, dance, jump, and sing. You watch them master language, learn to walk, then run, recite the alphabet, count to 10. They show delight, are easily surprised, and express their appreciation in so many tender ways. How fortunate are those who are allowed to spend time with these miniature miracles of life. It must be one of the most rewarding things to ever do. Wait, Someone must change their diapers, wipe snot from their faces. Who cleans up the poop and the barf? How about the whining and crying? Then there's pushing, shoving, and whacking the other kids with their toys. It's mine, you can't have it, I hate you, you're mean. Have we forgotten the uncontrollable screaming and the ear-piercing sounds which are indescribable? Honey, I don't understand what you're saying. No, don't get mad. There's cut fingers, gum in the hair, stubbed toes. They fall, get stuck, hide, and disappear. Did I mention tantrums and demands? How did these little angels turn into little devils? Are we now reconsidering how wonderful it is to work with small children? Yes, there are tough times and a variety of challenges while tending to these wee ones. Almost anyone who does it will tell you that it's all worth it. The good outweighs the bad, the joy supersedes the pain, and the love conquers the trials. Great praise should be heaped upon the moms and dads who tenderly care for their children. We must also appreciate the sacrifice and commitment of daycare workers, babysitters, nannies, and preschool teachers. We should additionally recognize the grandparents, neighbors, and relatives who help out or carry the responsibility for children. So the next time someone tells you that children are a delight, don't fall into the trap of responding, "Really?" as you think about all those not so great aspects. Instead, revel in the moment of remembering all the great stuff which comes from spending time with kids. We appreciate every time you turn on Lakeshore Public Television and watch one of our shows. Your comments about any of our interviews on Lakeshore Focus are helpful to us. You can send your thoughts to us through the website or via email, both listed on your screen right now. If you can't find a previously aired show on our website for some reason, go to YouTube, type Lakeshore Focus and perhaps the name of the guest you want to watch, and zing, there it is. Be sure and join us again next week for another Lakeshore Focus. Until then, I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.